some Gatorade for those of you that are not watching.
Homemade Gatorade. It's not even like the real bottle. It's like the powder that you mix together in a pitcher.
Well, I don't like full strength Gatorade. It's too much sugar. So I do half strength Gatorade.
So you do half strength sugar?
Half strength sugar.
Got it. We're healthy here.
Only half the diabetes of regular sugar.
Healthy here on the Let's Quit podcast. Let's quit half of our sugar. Let's quit 50% of our sugar.
Oh, man. All right. You know what it is. It's the Let's Quit podcast. If you're new, thanks so much for showing up. If you're not new, thanks so much for showing up.
Thanks, everybody, for just showing up.
Today, we're talking about something that is a constant struggle for Jenny and I. Our brain completely wipes our memory every time we need to solve a problem. And we think we have to come up with a new and impressive solution to every unique individual problem. And that's just not the case.
Because we always think that problem solving is like defined as coming up with your own individualized, unique, special snowflake solution.
Well, it's because we enjoy we're getting into it too much, but like it's because we enjoy problem solving that we get excited about it. So we want to do it new and exciting and different each time because it's fun for us.
Right.
But it's really inefficient. So today we're just going to be talking about that. Again, I know we're hitting another topic we've already covered before on the podcast, but that's because we need to hear it again. And we got some new stories about how we're idiots. Roll the intro. Welcome to the Let's Quit podcast.
Quitting is not always a bad thing.
If you have the right mindset, quitting can be the most powerful tool you have on your journey to success. It's certainly been helpful for us.
Whether it's flying through hurricanes, building our businesses, or just trying to get to bed on time, we're always trying to level up and improve our lives.
This is the show where we share the lessons, experiences, and friends that have helped us live this incredible life. So let's quit the bad and grow the good together.
All right, so time for a weekly update. What have we been up to?
Quite a lot. I know it's only been like a couple days or whatever, like a week or so, I guess.
So roughly, would you say like 7 days?
Yeah, roughly
approximately
7 days.
Okay.
But I don't know. Like, I just feel like we've had a lot going on this week. So, our video bombed, by the way. Our video for teens starting a business.
And we don't mean bombed in a good way.
No, it was not the bomb. It bombed.
But to be honest, like it bombed, but the audience who it was meant for, it reached them for sure.
Oh yeah,
like,
we got tons of messages from young teenagers and like awesome people, like probably listeners to the show that have their own business and are doing all sorts of awesome stuff. It was just really encouraging for us to get those messages this week.
Yes, so it didn't stop at YouTube either. We got a ton of messages on Instagram of like high school aged people who are starting their own business and who are like, hey, that actually really helped. I struggle with sales, and so it was really good to hear from the people that the video was meant for. So not all was lost. It actually ended up going pretty well. Yeah,
I mean, you guys know we're trying to skew our audience a little bit younger. As much as we love middle-aged white men with beards watching our YouTube channel, we're trying to reach kids also. So we're trying to do some more stuff that like reaches younger people. Because we want to reach people at all ages. And right now we have only one demographic of people that watch our videos. In large, I'm painting with broad strokes here, but like we just want to skew a little bit younger and give something for the young people to, learn from as well. A little bit more tangibly, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it.
Because I feel like to begin with, there's not a whole lot of like woodworking business content out there.
Especially not for young people.
And yes, especially not for young people, because I feel like the young people think that woodworking is kind of an older person game or like an older person arena to play in. So maybe they're a little intimidated to like not only woodwork, but sell what they do.
Especially with some of these guys, like... Man, so like growing up, like my dad and I, we flew like remote control airplanes. Believe it or not, like that hobby used to be, I don't know if it is or not anymore, but like used to be saturated with old stuffy men that did not like new people getting into the hobby or did not like the fact that young kids were getting into the hobby.
Which is nuts because that just sounds like the youngest kid hobby. It's a remote control airplane. That sounds like it would only be children.
When I remember my dad, when I was in high school and I started getting back into it again, like I ran into all these old guys on the forums that did not like young kids learning this hobby. And my dad had some like in the back of the garage. We pulled them out, cleaned them up, and we were going to go to the field and fly them. And we got kicked out. Do you know this story?
No.
Yeah, no joke. Like we
they said you were too young or something?
No. So my dad, you have to be part of this flying club.
Oh, so it's like golf?
It's like worse than golf. Like you have to be part of this flying club and you have to pay dues to this like national agency for insurance and stuff. But that was just their like gatekeeping response. So we showed up. I'm a young kid, right?
Sounds like a fraternity.
It's insane. But we showed up to this field and my dad spent a bunch of money on this hobby when I was a little kid growing up. But we went out to the flying field that I remember going to with my dad, and I was old enough to finally fly these airplanes. And I just flew them in the backyard or whatever, but my dad got the big ones that had gasoline engines. It was like alcohol or something. That's not important. We pulled up, and we pulled out like these 2 or 3 airplanes, and we were just going to gas them up and fly them that evening. And this old dude walks up to us, hitches up his britches. And he says, "Can I see y'all's AMA card?" Which is an American Model Association.
Oh my God.
And my dad looked at him and he's like, "We don't have one." And he's like, "Well, unless you got that card, you can't fly at this field." And I'm like, "Really? We're already here." And he's like, "Nope, that's the membership rules." And I was like, "But we're not members."
So was it like an open field?
Yeah, there was no gate or anything. It was just a gravel parking lot with a grass runway for old men to fly RC planes.
So there wasn't even like a fence. It was literally just an open field.
It was it's a whole facility, but
I
mean, they got tables and stuff. Like, does it
look kind of like I don't know, like a shooting range or something like that?
Yeah, that's what I would compare it to.
Okay.
It kind of looks like a shooting range. There's benches and stuff. There's like a little grass field.
But a lot of it is grass and gravel and like kind of openness.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to take care of it. It's not like just an open field.
Interesting. I've never heard of people being that picky.
Oh, yeah. Like, that hobby is full of old men like that. And from what I can gather, like, there are those people in woodworking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, definitely. I mean, go to any like hand tool woodworking show or anything like that, and you're going to find those people.
Read the comments. And so I guess like for you, you had kind of a negative experience because you felt like you were kind of shunned and not allowed into the hobby because you didn't fit like the category of people that were in there, which I guess is something we're trying to avoid. Like we want to include the younger people who are also trying to get into the hobby.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want those elements to be propagated on social media, which I don't think they are in the woodworking arena. I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to draw a parallel to something else that doesn't also relate to the audience. But anyway, like I know what it's like to be gatekept from a hobby. And I want to make sure that there's content out there on YouTube for young people who are like, I want to start a woodworking business. And then there's just not a bunch of salty contractors and stuff that are like, you're never going to make any money, son, and do things my way.
Yeah.
Or got to bust your butt for 20 years. It's like, no. Like, there's an easier way to do this.
Not how that works.
Especially if you like social media, so.
And especially with social media making it a completely different game nowadays. Like, they know how to play a whole nother game that the older crowd doesn't necessarily know how to play.
Oh, finally. I've been picking this hangnail since we started recording.
Oh my gosh.
Finally got it. Anyway, back to the show.
Attention spans of goldfish over here.
Anyway, so we tried to make this awesome, cool video for like young people. It was just a normal video. Like it's very similar to all the other videos.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 5 tips video. We do a lot of tips.
The thumbnail was out of control.
Yes.
We didn't know when we recorded the podcast last week what the thumbnail was going to be, but we just decided to go all out because one of the things we do when we post YouTube videos, we go to the YouTube trending page because that's what YouTube is rewarding. YouTube handpicks the trending. Spoiler alert. YouTube handpicks.
It's not actually what's trending.
Right. YouTube picks what they want to be trending, and they're saying this is the kind of content that we want to see more of on YouTube.
Yes.
And so we just went to the trending page and saw that there were a bunch of over-sensationalized thumbnails, like clickbaity titles and stuff like that. So we're like, well, give YouTube what YouTube wants.
Right, because if we want it to get shown to the largest amount of like young people on YouTube, this is the game we're going to play, I guess.
Well, now my finger's bleeding. Hang on.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so we were trying to... I mean, all the people watching this on video are having a real treat watching me fidget around.
Great.
But yeah, so now we're trying to like play the thumbnail game. For a while, we've been like playing with our YouTube titles of like trying to toe the line of like clickbait versus not clickbait. And I feel like we've dialed that in pretty well, but now we need to go and get better on thumbnails. And what better way to do that than to copy those who are already succeeding on YouTube?
Correct. Which, the irony, it kills me. That's kind of what we're talking about. in general on the podcast
It's
today.
like the podcast is a snapshot of what's going on in our lives.
Right, exactly.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, funny how that works. So we created our thumbnail, and it was a little over the top.
Pretty over the
So
top.
we were like, okay, we want this video to go to young people. What do young people do? They're on their phones. What do they look at? TikTok. What's a trend on TikTok?
That's literally what we did. Everybody was like, why are you pointing at your forearm on the thumbnail? It's like, I don't know either, man, but kids are doing it all over TikTok.
It's a dancing trend on TikTok.
No, I know what it is. I looked this up and found it. So there is an NBA player whose celebration is to like point at that spot on his arm. And he's basically saying there's ice in my veins. You're not going to get to me. I'm cold-blooded.
Ah.
Come at me, bro.
A cold-blooded woodworker. Come at me, bro.
Anyway, and then I cropped on, if anybody knows who Little Huddy is, he's like, I don't know, some Gen Z, like, social media
TikToker
person
dude.
thing. I'm really dating myself right now. But, like, I cropped his hair onto my head, so that's not a dead rat. That is some celebrity's hair cropped onto my head. And then everybody, all the Gen Zers, all of them, every single one of them, has this cross earring.
In one ear.
You can barely see that I did it, but it's there. You can look if you know.
It's funny how many of these trends like come back from like decades ago, like the one earring in a single ear. Like it's back apparently.
Nothing new under the sun.
Welcome to 2020. Nothing
new
under the sun. Anyway, so that was our over the top thumbnail. Man, I couldn't even look at it without cringing, which meant it was probably a good thumbnail.
I thought it was a great thumbnail. Your brother really liked it. He thought it was funny. He helped us with it, so
yes,
that helped. I don't know. It's just we're trying to skew, and no young person complained about it.
Right.
That was the thing. Like we got so many good reactions from young people.
The audience that it was oriented towards. So,
right. And when you try to change anything about your channel on YouTube, you're like instantly smacked in the head.
Right.
With your analytics.
Like, why are you not doing the same thing every single week that works?
They don't show your content to new people. They don't like. It's just you have a regular audience, and they get used to clicking on what they get used to clicking on. And when you do something different, like instantly YouTube doesn't have any incentive to give you a different audience to look for your videos.
Because the audience you have works. And they're like, why don't you just keep pushing with this one?
Right. So you have to do things like that repeatedly for YouTube's algorithm to finally be like, okay, fine. Who's watching this stupid style of video now? Young people? Okay, let me try to give you a few young people.
I guess we'll show you a different demographic. Like,
because YouTube, like, there is no longer a shortage of content on YouTube.
Right.
There hasn't been for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you're going to try to change platforms, you're really going against the grain of what your channel is designed to do, which is serve the same group of people all the time.
Right.
So that's mostly what our week has consisted of, is just soothing ourselves through that process, even though it's like, I'm fine. Like, emotionally, I'm okay with it. It's
we stopped being emotionally affected by anything YouTube related a very long time ago.
But like, anyway, it's just a good reminder because like right now we're not depending on any of the money from YouTube. Like it doesn't pay rent is what I'm saying. So like, and it's good that we don't do that now. Because
we have the freedom to experiment a little bit.
Right. Because if our YouTube videos tanked and we couldn't pay rent that month, I wouldn't be experimenting with videos like this.
Right.
Which means I wouldn't have helped these kids out this week. And that's not who I want to be. I don't want to be the guy that's like just doing the show for the sake of the show.
But yeah, I mean, everybody's got a different set of priorities when they start YouTube, and our priority was to just help the people that we think need the help and who we want to help.
Right.
So.
And plus the younger people respond way better to some of the advice. Like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I have like had an interaction with somebody on Instagram and they're like asking business questions or something, very easy stuff, and they sit there and argue with me. It's like, why are you asking my opinion if you're just going to fight with me the whole time?
Right.
So, but these young people, like, they ask a question, I give them a little bit, and then 2 weeks later, they're sending me pictures of exactly what they did. And I'm like, wow, not only did you listen, you
you actually cared to learn, to like learn and change.
Now, you can ask yourself, does that kind of person need to hear the advice, or are they just going to learn it themselves? They're probably just going to learn it themselves. But I don't know. It's really cool to be there for those people that are genuinely interested in trying. And that's all you can ask for in life, is to be around people that are genuinely asking and trying to, accomplish the same goals as you. So,
yep. So that was good. That was a definitely very positive part of our week.
We finished the furniture.
Yeah, all the custom furniture that we had been doing live streams of us on SketchUp, and all the designs we had been doing, that is finally finished. We finished building it.
I ruined it on the last piece.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny.
We had to put these threaded inserts in the bottom just so we could attach the legs, and I drilled way too deep.
He drilled through one of the tabletops on accident, but thankfully it was literally the easiest tabletop to fix.
Yeah, but also like I knew something wrong was going to happen, which is why I gave us an extra few days to fix it. But we got it all fixed. I mean, that's why I don't like doing custom work. Is like, I don't.
You're doing something, when you do custom work, you're doing something different every single time. There's really nothing consistent. Even though you might be building 2 coffee tables in a row, you're going to have to build those 2 coffee tables completely different, because one's going to have X legs, one's going to have, epoxy in the top. Like, nothing is very, repeatable.
Yeah, and I mean, when things are repeatable, if I got to choose what it looked like, which is what we're doing with this repeatable furniture, like every top is going to be 8/4 material. I don't want to have to worry about drilling too deep into 8/4 material, and I'm not going to drill through 2 inches too far.
I would hope not.
But with that shallow 3/4 inch material that we were using on that living room set, like that is not the way that I wanted to do it, but the way our shop is set up, that's how I had to do it.
Right.
So anyway.
But
good lessons.
We did that. We also did another photo shoot for a lot of our charcuterie
that was this week.
Boards.
Feels like it was last week.
I know. This week, like I said, we've done so much. I can't even remember absolutely everything.
We started rock climbing.
Yes.
Did we talk about this?
I don't think so. No,
we didn't. So we started rock climbing. That's fun.
Yeah, so I have like a really bad blister like all over my hands, but it was worth it.
Yeah, so we're just bored, like trying to find stuff to like help your brother like stay entertained and like have fun, because like I guess we don't have fun when it's just us, but we have
our
enough
definition.
fun.
We have a different. Our fun is like having really in-depth like business discussions about the future.
Let's talk about the future, and then we get Eric, who's like, I just want to go play.
He's like, guys, can we do you do anything? And they're like, oh, you're right. We haven't really left the house in 3 days, have we? Like, we should probably go do something. It's totally our fault. Like, we are just. Yeah.
But now we're playing lots of Mario Kart, and we signed up for a rock climbing gym, and that's been fun.
It is a lot of fun.
So anyway, that's our new hobby for the week. I'm trying to convince Jennie to let me get a golf membership, but
like,
I don't know.
I'm not opposed. I enjoy
Think of how many
golfing
customers we're going to meet. Like, oh my gosh.
That's kind of where it came down to. We're like, okay, we both like to golf, and like, think of the customer base that exists at a golf course. Like, if you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and have a productive hobby, like, what is that? What's a productive hobby, other than selling your work? But
yeah. Anyway, may or may not be golfing in the near future.
Yes.
More often. So that'll be fun.
So that was a very long weekly update, but that's what we've been up to.
17 minutes. That's longer than usual.
That's it's pretty in-depth weekly update.
So, all right, let's hit him with the transition. Take it to the chorus. I mean, the episode quote.
Take it to the yes. All right, guys. Today's quote is from Zig Ziglar, and it says, "Some of us learn from other people's mistakes, and the rest of us have to be the other people."
Boy, ain't that the truth.
Yes. Some of us learn from others' mistakes, and the rest of us are the other people.
It's like the same mechanism that makes you stubborn and unable to learn from others' mistakes is also the drive, like the chip on your shoulder that allows you to make these big changes, or, have the stones to think you can change the world or like change your surroundings. So I don't know. It kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you can keep that edge and then also try to learn from new people, or learn from people
who have already done what you want to do.
Words and stuff.
Yes. I feel like that's the definition of productivity.
Yeah. So, all right. Direct definition of the show title. This show's title is Quit Reinventing the Wheel.
Yep.
We kind of have a similar show on this topic, but I probably shouldn't have told you that. But anyway.
This is a topic that's like, I feel like we've learned this quite a lot over the last like year or two.
We know this. We just don't practice this.
Yeah. And we slowly have to get better.
Yeah, it's like the difference between knowing the right answer and doing the right answer. Like, we know we should like do repeatable, systematic things, but we just don't do it.
So maybe if it's hard for us, it's also hard for other people. And if we need to have it knocked into our head, like, 3 times every, month or so, maybe that'll help other people
Yeah.
to give them a constant reminder to be repeatable.
And maybe it'll remind us.
Yes.
So anyway, what do we mean by reinventing the wheel? All the time, Jenny and I are finding ways to do things that we have already solved this problem. We approach a situation, challenging or not, and we just think we need to come up with a new solution. We cannot for the life of us remember that we've already solved this problem. It's okay. Or to go look at somebody who's already solved this problem. We think we need to wrap our whole brains around it, understand it, and come up with a new revolutionary way to solve it. And then we realize at the end of it that somebody else has already figured this out, and we've just wasted 3 weeks of research and time coming up with the same idea that was already out there. You see this all the time, especially in the maker community of like, not in a bad way, but like people will come up with their own separate ideas and then like in the same week publish the same YouTube video on the same type of project.
Right.
And they're always apologetic. They're always nice. They're like, hey man, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to like steal your idea. It's like, oh, I didn't mean to steal your idea. And then everybody's nice about it. But like, it's just there's a lot of us spend time on something that doesn't need time spent on it. You know, you could have taken that idea even further or done something new with it. You know, if that's your goal,
right?
Then
Instead
it
of
is
starting at square one, you could have started at square 6 and made something great because you got to square 10.
Right. So what we mean by like quit reinventing the wheel is we got 3 little things. The first one is search for things you've done before and do them again, or build on that idea. So you can look back at your own past. Be careful. Your brain, if your brains are anything like ours, your brain wipes your memory every time you solve a problem. So you don't remember your solutions. But like for this desk that we built, if you watch our YouTube video this week, we put out a video about this new prototype desk that we built, and we used the legs that we are using on the farmhouse coffee table. We're using that stock for the legs of this desk. That way, I don't know.
We just mill up like one big long piece of this, 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch square leg material, and we can use it for 2 things at once, or whatever order comes in, we can use it for that order because it doesn't matter. We use it for the desk and the coffee table.
Right. And right now, half the listeners are like, well, duh, that's just part of building a good product. And then the other half are like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea.
Right.
So if you're in that second half, like we are, like, yeah, like we're just trying to make things repeatable and make it easier and less work on ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't need to like start from square one, rough cut lumber every single time we build a piece of furniture. We can still build it to order. The analogy I use a lot is like a 5-star restaurant. That's the kind of woodworking business I want to run. There's a limited menu. Everything is still made to order. It's still made, you know, the way that the customer wants it, but it's from a very limited set of options and it's built to order. So that's kind of the method that we're following. The chefs still cut the onions the same way every dish. The chefs still like
they make the potatoes from scratch. It's just
they pre-make the pasta the morning before and like make the soup of the day like the day before. Like, you know, like there's always certain elements of it that you can repeat again and again and again, and that's what we're trying to do with our woodworking business.
Right.
So that's what we did with this leg of the coffee table. That's just an example I'm trying to use. We also, you want to give them the next example?
Yeah, so we've talked about this a few times in videos, and I know for sure podcasts, but how we write our checklists is very similar to the way that we learned to write checklists while we were in the Air Force. So there's a very specific and like painfully sometimes detail-oriented way that the Air Force writes its checklists.
It's beautiful, but it's painful to us.
Right. And so we're like, hey, instead of inventing a new way to write a checklist, why don't we just copy the checklist that we've already seen, save ourselves some time, and then we're not like, I don't know, creating new problems for ourselves to solve.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, think of how long it would take us to come up with our own format for how we want to write all these checklist steps down. Think about how long it would take for us to like put in information in this clear and organized way repeatedly. Like it would be a giant waste of time for us to start from scratch. So let's just go with what we know and teach our employees how to read an Air Force checklist.
Right.
So that pretty much rolls right into the second like point we have is like when you're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to like make something easier on yourself, look at the people that have already done what you're trying to do.
Yes, we did this. We totally did this when we were writing up our terms of service and like contracts page on our website, we were like, oh man, I know what I need. I know some of the things we need to include, but like, am I missing anything? And so rather than just guessing and hoping we didn't miss anything, we went to some other people's websites or like larger companies and corporations to see what they put in their terms of use and like service contracts and things like that. And it would spark like, you know, ideas of what to put in our own.
Not even that. I think some of our friends, we straight up, I know because I wrote it, like I copied and pasted our friend's terms of service for the website from somebody else. Now, I'm not sloughing off the responsibility of that on my friend. I understand that if there's a problem with our website, it's still my job to fix it, but at least I got a terms of service. I can improve it, but I'm starting out ahead of the curve from copying somebody else. So yeah, I'm taking a shortcut. You know, don't take shortcuts. That's a previous episode. But like, I understand the risk that I'm taking with that shortcut, and I'm gonna like build on it. So I'm not sloughing off responsibility for it, but I am kind of taking a shortcut. But
I feel like it's to avoid taking the shortcut of like writing too simplistic of like a contracts page.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a balance. You got to balance the shortcut you're taking with the responsibility you're offloading. And I've read the full terms of service and I agree with it. And I don't think I'm missing anything, but again, I don't know what I don't know. And unless I want to pay a web developer or a lawyer or some combination of the three to make a new terms of service, then meh, that's good enough. And
I did the same thing with all those charcuterie boards. Man, I'm having a really tough time saying that word today. Usually I say it flawlessly. I did that same process decorating my charcuterie boards. Like, I do not come up with the ideas of how to arrange this stuff on my own. Like, I have a blast doing these. I absolutely love it. And a lot of it is like me being creative and putting it wherever I want to. But I spent like a day on Pinterest figuring out where these people like got their ideas for making these things look so pretty. Like, where do they put the cheese? Where do they put the meat? And I was like,
you do a good job.
Well, thank you. I was like, I can either spend like 5 hours doing this myself, or I can just go on Pinterest and like try to copy some of these people. And spoiler alert, that was the much faster way to do it, because then the first time I made a board, it wasn't just like a blind practice board. It actually looked decent enough to like take pictures of.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, this goes so much further than just like business stuff too, but like our policies on money and like how we handle our finances. Like you've heard us say before on the podcast, we don't take financial advice from anybody with a net worth of less than $5 million. And that's about to change pretty soon. And
it's not just because, you know, we don't like people with a net worth of less than $5 million.
It has nothing to do with that.
It's just like, hey, those people seem to be doing something right. I should probably listen.
Our life goals are going to require a lot of money. So we have to listen to people that have made a lot of money in order to know what to do. Instead of trying to bootstrap or figure out my own way, I'm going to fall. If I try to do it, I'm going to get caught up in somebody's get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
Instead, like, I'm going to try to take too big of a shortcut, and it's not going to work out. So all you got to do is copy what the rich people are doing. That's literally all you got to do.
Because if I were to do it from scratch, man, I'd be like 85 years old before I learned 50% of what they already figured out.
More wealth has been created and recreated than has ever been passed down to several generations. Like, if you read the statistics on it, like generational wealth only lasts like 3 generations.
Right.
Like, granddad makes the money, dad kind of keeps it going along, and then grandson blows it all. Like, that's the story after story after story. Budweiser, if you want a good read on that, look up the story of Budweiser. It's a family company, in air quotes. But anyway, that's a great read. I think Freakonomics podcast did a good episode on that. So anyway, for more listening for you to go chase down.
Yes.
But again, like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can just learn from people who have already done it before. And then the final point is, if you are running a business, just literally copy and paste your way to success. I mean, be very careful here. Don't commit, like, I don't know, copyright infringement or steal anybody's content outright. But like, hopefully with the couple stories we've got up here, like, we'll make a pretty clear distinction. Like, don't be, okay, so let me start with that one. Like, you know the Instagram pages that everybody always reposts? They're like, oh, they're stealing my pictures. Go report them. It's like, yes, please go report them. Like, that's absolute trash that people steal Instagram pictures and repost them on their own account. But do you know why we hate that so much?
It's because we didn't think of it first.
Well, a little bit. Like, we hate it so much because, yeah, number one, it's stealing, and that's a stupid thing to do. But second, we hate it because it works. When you go to those profiles, I call them like curated Instagram accounts, where all they do is curate content from other people making content. It works because they are taking the best pictures from 20 accounts and putting it all into one account.
Right. They haven't spent the time figuring out the 27 photos that didn't work and didn't get a lot of engagement and just stealing the ones that finally popped off, and that's their entire inventory.
Right. So they're surfing on top of the wave of the algorithm, like stealing everybody's content and getting way more likes and stuff for it. Now, I still totally agree with everybody. Like, yeah, it sucks and it's stupid and they shouldn't do that. Even if they give credit, that's still technically violating, you know, what they're supposed to be doing. But like, we hate it because it works. So why don't you use that mechanism where it's legal to use it and it's not a bad thing to do? Like, there are plenty of ways you can copy and paste somebody's framework that aren't sleazy, that aren't lying and cheating.
Right.
Anyway, all I'm saying is that you could surf on top of the wave of the algorithm without like doing anything illegal or dirty.
I think a really good example of that I saw this week actually was one of the realtors I follow. A lot of these realtors, like, they do a really good job with their Instagram pages because they have to, you know, keep up appearances, like make it look very nice and professional and pretty and neat and clean. But I was scrolling through, and one of them that I follow that I'm talking to has a really pretty page. And for Easter, she had this really pretty like picture, and it had like a little Bible verse on it. And the background is a really pretty pink color. And I was like, wow, like she used Canva or something to like type that up and made it look really nice. That's, wow, good for her. That's pretty. And then literally 5 minutes later, I was going into my phone to a Bible app because I have like a verse of the day app that I'll read. And so I was just scrolling through it, and I clicked on a picture that was like associated with that Bible verse. Not kidding. It was the same Instagram post that realtor had just put on her page. So she did not create that herself. She took that. I mean, you're allowed to take those pictures. That's what the Bible app like wants you to do. That's why they make pretty pictures for you to post on Instagram stories and whatnot. But still, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, everybody thinks she made this super pretty post for Easter and that, you know, it's all perfectly put together and curated. Nah, she's stealing pictures from the same Bible app that I look at every single morning. But that's smart.
It's very smart.
Why go into Canva and create your own, you know, Bible verse picture when there's one out there that, in fact, they want you to share to your page? Right.
So the whole point of what we're saying is like copy and paste. I mean, like, we took this advice like really to heart when we started doing what were we doing? When we made the transition on our YouTube page to switch from DIY projects to sales-oriented stuff. Yeah. I started copying a landscaper YouTuber that I saw. It's kind of funny, like our stud stack, like, I'm like really pulling the curtain back. Our stud stack, our programs, our like everything that we do, basically the same concept is being done by this landscaper. Yeah. Now we're way bigger than he is on social media now, but like, anyway, we're not making as much money as he is on social media, but we got some work to do. But like, we basically just copied his entire framework, and he said before he's copied it from somebody else. So like in a successful businesses have been started and failed repeatedly for centuries now. There's nothing new to learn. You just find you get somebody's attention and you show them, hey, this thing you really like, I can get it to you for cheaper than the other guy.
Yeah, or better than the other guy, or different than the other guy. It's taking what works, putting your special twist on it.
You find the people who think something is valuable and you sell it to them. And you take it from people who don't think it's very valuable. I take lumber that farmers don't think is valuable, and they sell that lumber, and I shape it a little bit and give it back to a customer who wants to buy it. Like, literally, that's how a business works. And all you got to do is copy the model of somebody else that's done it successfully. Now, every once in a generation, a new technology will come along that shakes the whole game up. Whether that be the internet or the phone or the TV or the radio, like, some technological advancement will shake things up a little bit, but the same principles are there. And all you got to do is find somebody that's successful and reverse engineer it for whatever product that you want to do. So that being said,
what are our action steps?
Our action steps. You actually want to do this. You're getting excited. You're thinking, wow, I want to learn from all these people. Like, what do I do? Yes. Number one, write out your goal and then write down the names of 3 people. If you don't know 3 people, do some research. Write down the names of 3 people you know who have accomplished that goal. Pretty simple, right?
Easy enough.
So write out your goal and find 3 people who have accomplished that goal. Action step number 2.
Try to contact them if you can and ask 2 specific goal-related questions and ask what mindset shift they needed to make and achieve that goal. And the reason we say...
Well, slow down. We'll say that again. That was a lot. That was a long action step.
Okay.
Those 3 people that you wrote down, try to contact them. Be nice. Like, don't harass them, but like try to contact them and ask them 2 specific goal-related questions. Don't say, can you help me on my goal? Can you help me on my journey? Like, don't be vague. Be very specific. Right. When you were 25 years old, what was it that gave you the confidence to move out of the house? Or whatever it was in their story, how they accomplished their goal. And then ask one... I mean, like, yeah, you're going to get the answer to the 2 specific goal questions, but the 3rd question is really the kicker. What mindset shift did you need to make to achieve that goal? Nobody ever asked that question, first of all.
Right. They just want the quick answer. They just want the quick answer. How'd you do it?
Where do you get your lumber? Well, like, people ask us this all the time. Where do you get your lumber? Do you have a magical lumber dealer that gives you lumber for free?
My hardwood dealer is the same as everybody else's hardwood dealer. I buy walnut, I take it home, and I build something. Like, there's no special hardwood dealer that's going to magically make your desk better.
But that's what we're conditioned to think is humans. Like, I mean, that's why in the Avengers, everybody's got that glove thing. It's why, like...
Yep. There's always that one special magical thing.
In Lord of the Rings, it was the ring. Like, just everybody's looking for the magical token or talisman or whatever it is. Like Hero's Journey kind of stuff. Google that if you're not familiar. Like, everybody's looking for the magic thing, magic beans.
There is no magic thing. That's why there's folklore and children's books written about them, because it's fun to think about something that doesn't exist.
The secret is in the mindset shift. If you can think like somebody who accomplishes that goal and do the things that somebody accomplishes that goal does, you will accomplish that goal. It's plain and simple.
And the reason we say, like, be very specific with your goal-oriented questions too are because a specific question gets a specific answer. Yep. And a lot of times specific answers are easier and faster to give than very broad, vague questions. Like, if somebody was to ask us, hey, how did you start your woodworking business? We'd be like, oh my gosh, like, do you want the whole story? When am I starting? 3 years ago? Yesterday? Like, but if somebody were to ask, hey, how did you get the idea to make your packaging work as marketing for you? There you go. That's a much better question that, like, I can answer.
Oh, yeah. We ordered wine from Gary V's wine store, Empathy Wines, and we were really inspired by the packaging. So that's what we copied ours off of. Like, it's a very tangible answer to a very tangible question.
And you're getting a way better answer. Like,
and then
let's be honest.
And then the third thing is the most powerful. You're asking about the mindset shift. Number one, that's the thing nobody asks about. So a question to somebody, whether that be some old guy at your church or like some social media person or some celebrity, if you can get their attention and ask a question, a unique question they've never answered before is probably going to get answered more than the same old question.
Right.
Because I tell you what, right now, we do not answer the questions of where do you get your lumber? Because it's not about the lumber.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. If you're at the point where, sorry if any of you are listening, if you're at the point where you're asking me where I got my lumber and you think that's going to be the ticket to unlocking this successful business, you need to learn a lot more than where to buy lumber. That's all I got to say. Yeah. So, like, I'm not going to even, like, dip my toe into that question because that person just needs way more teaching than I have time to type in an Instagram DM. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's our best advice for trying to contact somebody who's accomplished a goal, is to ask 2 really specific questions and then ask about mindset shifts, because that's probably going to get a response. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's the show this week. I don't got anything else. We have any announcements?
I don't think we really have any other announcements.
Nope. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye, guys.